These days, increased environmental regulation is something all cattlemen have to spend more time thinking about and planning for. And that's especially true for feedlot operators. But I know from my own experience that folks running feedlots are doing all they can to care for the water, their land, and of course their cattle. Now, as we continue to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the Environmental Stewardship Award, let's meet the winners of Region 3, an Iowa family feedlot operation that's setting a new standard for stewardship.
Not long after sunup, the feed truck is delivering breakfast to the pens at Cowser Cattle Company. Bill and Nancy Cowser make their home in the heart of Iowa and run a diverse farming operation, growing crops and finishing more than 5,000 head of cattle each year. It's an operation Bill started in 1977, taking over an existing farm feedlot.
When this feedlot was started in 1889, it had a total of 34 head of Hereford steers on it. And since that time, we've grown to where we're permitted around 3,500.
We work in seed production and crop production and have the feedlot. And the feedlot has doubled and probably tripled in size just in the last 5 years.
It's not like any other job. You don't always do it for the money. You do it for the satisfaction.
The Cowsers believe their cattle and crops work full circle for a healthy environment. First, the manure from the feedlot is used as a natural fertilizer for their corn, and Bill served as a driving force in developing the Lincoln Way Energy Ethanol plant, and a share of the Cowsers' corn goes there to be converted to fuel. At the end of the process, the distiller's dried grains are used as part of the feed ration for the cattle.
It's amazing what ethanol has done for the cattle industry in the state, and also the other species too, but especially the cattle industry. When you look at the environmental stewardship between renewable fuels and livestock, it's something that fits together. It's part of that full circle operation that we have, and it's here to stay.
On their cropland, the Cowsers have installed grass buffer strips and waterways to prevent soil erosion and protect streams. Berms have been built around the feedlot, and water flow is controlled to prevent any runoff. In 2004, the Cowsers volunteered to be one of the first research sites to test vegetative treatment areas and infiltration basins at the feedlot.
We want to make sure that if there was ever any escape, there would be some kind of a filtration. When you look over some of those fences, we've got our VIBs where the water's gathered and it actually goes down through the natural system of cleansing.
In terms of the real world, these systems have all worked. None of them have discharged manure to the water. They've all been managed properly. I think Bill is a really good example of how we can work modern farming and with good environmental stewardship.
I think one of the greatest things we do when we get done is that if our season allows it, we're able to harvest those grasses off our VIBs and VTAs and actually feed them back to the livestock. So we've got a renewable system in place.
The Cowsers have also been leaders in installing a mono-slope building that not only shelters the cattle, but keeps rain off that part of the feedlot. This allows for an increase in cattle capacity without compromising the performance of the vegetative treatment system.
I have always believed that it is possible to raise cattle, to be an environmental steward, and to leave this land a little better than you found it. And Bill is certainly doing that. The measures he's put in place out there on his feeding operation are really very green. They're very environmentally sound, and I'm proud of the work he's doing.
The technology's changed. From folks like Bill Cowser that have done things differently here to be able to show that we can feed cattle outside, but we can also feed cattle under monoslopes that are done in a way that we can feed them very profitably and very environmentally friendly.
The Cowsers work with Iowa's Department of Natural Resources, NRCS, and the U.S. EPA have led Bill to the state capitol and to Washington to share his expertise. In addition, the family partners with Iowa State University and others to host field days and to test new conservation practices.
We've got an open door policy here, and anybody that has a question, they're always welcome.
Well, they sure do a lot of things right. We think a lot of folks in Iowa do, but Cowsers are probably some of the best at it, both in the way they raise their crops and the way they take care of their cattle. as well as how open they are to people to come and look at that.
We have many groups come through the feedlot in the year's time and try to show them that we are the stewards of the land and livestock, and we're doing the best job possible.
Whether he's sharing the story of 21st century agriculture, managing his crops, or checking cattle in the feedlot, Bill Cowser is continually working on new ideas to keep his family operations sustainable.
If you're not coming up with new ideas, trying new things around here in Iowa, you're definitely going to fall behind. So it's important to keep up on the cutting edge.
Stewardship means caring enough about what you do and how you do it to not only keep yourselves safe, but keep the people around you safe, and to be able to pass it on to the next generation and have it be better than when you got there, to improve it.
When you look at the word stewardship, it's something that should come naturally, that feels right. And when it's right, you know everything else is right.
You can see features on all of this year's ESAP award-winning operations by visiting our website at cattlemen2cattlemen.org.